We are the people, 老百姓 We gonna bury you, CCP
觀眾朋友大家好，歡迎收睇每日滅共新聞。我哋係消滅邪惡中國共產黨嘅新中國人。今日2025年1月20號星期一，而家係美東時間晚上11點，我係 Karen。一位美國退役上校表示，有大量報告顯示，中共特種部隊人員好可能已被空運到韓國，並充當特警。呢個正係中共當年鎮壓香港嘅方式，可以話係香港事件嘅翻版。中共正試圖令韓國分裂崩潰。另外，如果中共攞低韓國，咁就真嘅係會將全球芯片供應鏈嘅一部分毀壞啦。請睇詳細內容。
What's extremely disturbing, numerous reports that very likely Chinese special operators are being flown in and being used as special police. This is Hong Kong 2.0. This is exactly how they crushed Hong Kong. Now, I was able to alert somebody directly in the Trump presidential front office, and this is now on their radar screen. And so let's pray that the Trump effect has immediate impact in crushing this communist coup of one of our immensely closest friends in the world. China is trying to collapse them because they don't want a strong South Korea on their left flank, our right flank. They want to collapse them so they don't have to deal with them. And they're just counting that we're distracted, we're not paying attention. Not many Americans understand Hangul or the South Korean situation, and they're just going to conduct a coup, just a shadow coup, and we're going to wake up and then, hey, guess what? And part of our chip supply chain in the world, the key countries are not just Taiwan, South Korea, Japan, the U.S., and the Netherlands. They take South Korea. That really takes one of the legs out of the world chip supply chain. Many reports on the ground that the special police are speaking Chinese. That's weird.
中共近年嚟對蒙古族傳統文化嘅消滅，特別係對蒙古語教學嘅禁令，引發咗蒙古族人嘅強烈抗議。其中好多人為咗捍衛母語權利同生活尊嚴，被逼逃難遠赴蒙古、日本，甚至冒險走線前往美國。請睇報道。
蒙古族人因中共壓迫而走線美國。中共政府近年來對蒙古傳統文化的消滅，特別是對蒙古語教學的禁令，引發了蒙古族人的強烈抗議。其中許多人為了捍衛母語權利和生活尊嚴，被迫逃難遠赴蒙古、日本，甚至冒險走線前往美國。這些被迫離開的蒙古族人面臨着中共政府的經濟和文化雙重壓迫。他們不僅失去了母語教育的權利，還經常遭遇中共警察的騷擾和威脅。儘管害怕家人因自己的逃離而受到迫害，但為追求自由和尊嚴， 依然選擇了漫長且充滿危險的逃難之路。在美國和其他國家，這些蒙古族走線者面臨着語言障礙、經濟壓力等重重困難。為此，已有美國議員提出支持蒙古族人權利的相關法案，並因此揭示了中共政府對少數民族文化的壓制和對人權的嚴重踐踏。
中共應用程序小紅書嘅真正危險，唔止在於數據收集方面，更在於佢控制輿情嘅能力，並以我哋前所未有嘅方式破壞信任。佢決定用戶可以睇到乜嘢或唔可以睇乜嘢嘅權力，實際上係影響整個社會嘅權力。佢嘅風險比 TikTok 仲大。唔受控制嘅小紅書可能會成為社會操控嘅特洛伊木馬。請睇詳細報導。
The real danger of RedNote isn't just in its data collection, it's in its ability to control narratives. So the power to decide what users see and what they don't see is actually the power to influence entire societies. There was a report in the China Digital Times a couple years ago on the parent company of RedNote, and it was very much a wake-up call because it's not just a social app, it's a tool of influence with a proven track record of censorship.
The target audience here, who's the target audience when it comes to RedNote?
Largely, this is kids. Like it is, it's certainly youthful people because it combines commerce and social behavior in very, very unique ways. And people are joining it because, as we know, this other platform, TikTok, is disappearing. So people want to migrate to the next big thing. And it's when their friends are moving there. So there's this sense of FOMO and there's a ton of hype around it. So there's this perceived notion that it's the new TikTok and no one wants to miss out on that. But people don't realize the risks are significant and even greater than TikTok. And they see it as an alternative without really understanding the costs.
How much of, when we look at things like TikTok, and if it's not TikTok, then where can I go next? RedNote. If it's not going to be RedNote, it'll be something else. It is almost like an addiction here. What's the concern around that? And as you mentioned there, the audience is quite young.
Yes. Well, there's very broad implications here because it's not just a risk to individual users, it's a risk to society. It has the power to exploit data, to shape narratives, and to erode trust in ways that we haven't seen before. Because unchecked, RedNote could become kind of a Trojan horse for societal manipulation. It uses the platform to influence not just users, but entire communities. And true freedom doesn't come with hidden costs. What RedNote offers may feel liberating, but it's freedom wrapped in a veil of control and exploitation.
美國傳統基金會中國戰略高級研究員白邦瑞表示，川普總統欣賞里根總統嘅做法，即喺對對手施加壓力嘅同時，保留談判同相互尊重嘅空間，最終達成協議。呢一策略最終促成咗蘇聯嘅解體，而川普似乎亦受到啟發，準備借鑑類似嘅方法應對中共。呢個構成咗佢未來4年對華策略嘅基礎。請睇相關新聞。
Senior fellow on China strategy at the Heritage Foundation. Michael, great to see you. Now, Xi is sending his vice president to the inauguration. What's going on here? Trump clearly is using the power of negotiation and persuasion and setting the table, perhaps, for future meetings here. How do you read this?
I read it as the President-elect Trump is revealing his China strategy for the whole next 4 years. And it's brilliant. It's taken part of it's out of the art of the deal, part of it's out of President Trump's admiration for Ronald Reagan and Reagan's negotiating style. We put a lot of pressure on the adversary, even intimidate him, but always leave a way out and have respect and finally get agreements. So that we saw Reagan, you and I both served in the Reagan administration, Laura. We know he went from the evil empire and the ash bin of history to saying that was a long time ago, now we had a new era, and eventually get the collapse of the Soviet Communist Party. So I think President Trump is revealing today how he's going to manage things. And frankly, what we can look for now is this very dangerous encirclement every day of Chinese Communist jet fighters and ships around Taiwan. Sometimes 20, sometimes 30 bombers and ships. If that's reduced in the near term, that will be a gesture of respect toward President Trump. And I think we'll be on the right track to get a lot more concessions from China in all the other areas where they've been working against us for so long.
近日， 美國國會喺討論裏面談及中共國正在深度參與跨國壓迫，威脅到在美人士及其家人嘅安全。會中，議員仲探討如何阻止40名維吾爾族人將會喺泰國被強行遣返回中共國而面臨迫害嘅策略。請睇報道。
One of the things China is doing is deeply engaged in transnational repression, which means threatening people here in the United States that they will disappear or kill or harm their family members back in China if they exercise their free rights here in our country. And also they're seeking to repatriate Uyghurs who have escaped China. And right now there are 48 Uyghurs that are in Thailand, and Thailand is on the verge of repatriating them back to China. Will you lobby for Thailand to not send these Uyghurs back to the horror they will face if they're returned?
Yes, and the good news is that Thailand is actually a very strong U.S. partner, strong historical ally as well, and so that is an area where I think diplomacy could really achieve results because of how important that relationship and how close it is. I think it's also one more opportunity for us to remind the world of what exactly we're talking about here. This is not some obscure issue. These are people who are basically being rounded up because of their ethnicity and religion, and they are being put into camps. They're being put into what they call re-education centers. They're being stripped of their identity. Their children's names are being changed. It's one of the most horrifying things that's ever happened, and they're being put into forced labor, literally slave labor.
And I will say our work together on the Forced Labor Prevention Act, Uyghur Forced Labor, was tremendous. Thank you for championing that. I'm encouraging other nations, including Canada, Mexico, and Europe, to follow the rebuttable presumption strategy we put into that bill, because right now, if our slave labor products or China's slave labor products are rejected here, they're shipped to Canada, and we need to expand on that.
美國財政部同執法官員本星期喺國會山接受詢問時表示，有3000多個文件遭到洩漏，其中包括財政部長耶倫及其副部長等財政部高級官員嘅文件。為咗應對日益嚴重嘅中共黑客威脅，拜登政府發布網絡安全令，提高軟件提供商嘅要求。以後政府將只採購帶有美國網絡信任標識嘅產品。請睇詳細內容。
Chinese hackers gained access to thousands of files from the U.S. Treasury Department in a breach that occurred between September and November of last year. U.S. Treasury and law enforcement officials asked about the incident on Capitol Hill this week, say more than 3,000 files were compromised, including documents from high-ranking Treasury officials like Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen and her Deputy Secretary. According to officials' testimony, there was a vulnerability in a third-party product provided by an outside vendor beyond trust. Details of this latest Chinese hack are coming just as President Biden issued an executive order aimed at strengthening security standards for companies doing business with the U.S. government. Regarding the Treasury hack, the company Beyond Trust alerted the government in December of the compromise, saying 419 Treasury computers were impacted, but say only unclassified data was taken. In response to a growing threat of Chinese hacking, Biden's order mandates software providers unaffiliated with the government who are granted contracts must demonstrate their products are secure under new security requirements for cloud providers and any internet-connected devices. If President-elect Donald Trump keeps Biden's executive order in place, then by 2027, the government will purchase only products with a U.S. Cyber Trust mark, a new label that demonstrates a device's security. Outgoing FBI Director Christopher Wray sat down with CBS's 60 Minutes this past week, saying China's cyber capabilities are the defining threat of our generation.
Well, the greatest long-term threat facing our country, in my view, is represented by the People's Republic of China, the Chinese government, which I consider to be the defining threat of our generation. China's cyber program is by far and away the world's largest, bigger than that of every major nation combined.
調查記者兼疫苗安全研究基金會創始人史提夫基爾希下載咗美國疾控中心 CDC 嘅死亡率 同新冠疫苗接種數據後發現，疫苗接種率較高嘅縣比接種率較低嘅縣死亡人數更多。請睇視頻。
I've got $1 million at stake on this, and I'm pretty motivated to find the answer. So I did something that apparently no one's done before, which is I actually went to the CDC, downloaded the vaccination data, and downloaded the mortality data for every county in the United States of America. And when you do the analysis on it, you get a very stunning result. And it's statistically significant in 15 out of 16 plots. And in the one that's not statistically significant, it's like 95% of the probability is in the that it made things worse. But it basically shows that the counties that vaccinated more had more deaths than the counties that vaccinated less. So, I mean, the simple case is you have two counties, one that was highly vaccinated, you have another county that was not highly vaccinated. The mortality rate in the lowly vaccinated county didn't go up at all, and the mortality rate in the highly vaccinated county doubled. Do you think that might be a signal?
We are the people, 老百姓 We gonna bury you, CCP。
跟住落嚟係一組每日新聞簡報。美聯社消息，財政部提名人斯科特貝森特面臨兩黨尖銳質詢，焦點集中喺稅收政策、關稅、對中共國同俄羅斯嘅制裁，以及共和黨要求削減嘅國稅局納稅申報系統。盧比奧喺參議院外交關係委員會上表示，川普關於恢復美國對巴拿馬運河嘅控制權必要性嘅言論係嚴肅嘅。中共國喺嗰度嘅存在，意味住運河唔再受巴拿馬政府控制。運河兩端嘅中共國港口設施已構成軍事威脅。中共會喺危機裏面利用呢啲設施禁止軍用船隻通行。盧比奧話，美軍南方司令部前司令陸軍上將勞拉 J 理查森曾話佢知中共國民用港口係喺衝突時刻會被用作武器嘅雙重用途設施。每日電訊報報導，英國政府預計因新冠病毒疫苗造成嘅傷害賠償將達到17億英鎊，已有超過17500人申請咗疫苗損害賠償計劃，因為佢哋認為佢哋或其親人因接種疫苗而受到傷害。美國財政部制裁名為恩克城嘅網絡黑客，佢參與咗最近針對美國財政部嘅網絡攻擊行動。財政部話佢居住喺上海，同中共國家安全部有關聯。根據香港破產管理處嘅最新數據，香港舊年嘅破產呈請數量達到9190起，同比增長16.9%，創下自2015年以嚟嘅最高紀錄。我哋重申，中國共產黨係全世界災難嘅根源，只有消滅中國共產黨，先至能夠拯救全人類。感謝大家收睇每日滅共新聞，我哋下次再會。
畢業於985的重慶大學，1年過去了，我還是沒有找到一份像樣的工作。
中國的社會的失業、崩盤、斷供，
社區給我打電話，讓我快點就業。
共產黨在死亡前沒那麼容易死，共產黨一定會很瘋狂。
能不能把好运来關了？能，幾千個家庭都在這邊等着你了。我領導跟我說不發工資了。33歲，我倆都失業了。
失業了。
失業了。
南京29所公司裡的幼兒園都關園了。
總人口數2年都在下降。
中国经济什么样了？你不知道。
深圳很多实体和企业都在面临着倒闭。
这2年，大量的外资企业撤离中国。
中国有40家的小银行消失，被大银行合并或解散。
因为无法提款遭到了挤兑，这意味着江西银行基本上是爆雷了。
中职系现在爆雷了。
我跟你们说说，学校都给我们吃到了些什么？
整盆肉都是臭的，丧尽天良的人都。
学生们也抱怨，吃的都是僵尸肉和预制菜。
这就是无底店学校啊！这孩子吃狗食桶里的菜。
油罐车混运煤制油和食用油，并且之间呢没有冲洗清洁。这样的报道一出，引发了一片哗然。
所有的天灾到了中国以后，都变成人祸。
洞庭湖呢，它叫团州乡的这个院堤啊，7月5号呢发生了决堤。更让人民愤怒的是，你堵不住堤防破口，政府就堵你的嘴。
我只能祈祷别下雨了。
湖南、河南海的善后，重庆又成重灾区。
湖北丹江口汽车全灭顶，河南的周口、南阳等地达到特大暴雨等级。
哇，一台车疯狂的撞上来呀！
在9月18日，一名10岁的日本男孩遭到一个男子的持刀袭击。
我们的很多人就是长期在这种仇恨教育之下，导致这种恶果。
自我革命，
自我革命，
把党的伟大自我革命进行到底。
自我革命就是文化大革命，走着看啊，这个事儿太大了。
2024年4月19日，信息支援部队成立大会在北京八一大楼隆重举行。
保守国家秘密法修订通过，李尚福开除党籍处分，
决定对苗华停止检查。
猎狐2022专项行动加大反洗钱力度。14部门近日发布了关于促进人体器官捐献工作健康发展的意见。
各位嘉賓，各位市民。
香港通过了23条的立法草案。
美國眾院外委會通過香港經濟貿易辦事處認證法案。
破產管理處公佈上個月提交個人破產呈請宗數係5個月以嚟最高。
2024-25財政年度嘅綜合赤字係1000億元左右。
西九龍法院呢，在今天對4-7人顛覆案作出判決。
廉潔奉公，竭誠為澳門特別行政區服務。
共產黨在死亡前没那么容易死亡，共产党一定会很疯狂。
感谢台湾人民共同写下了民主的新页。
So you think you can trust them?
前总统马英九访中行来到陕西，
黄宪世纪之握马习2会10号下午4点在北京人民大会堂东大厅登场。
马英九办公室举办两岸交流。
这是我第3次到中国大陆访问。
柯文哲日前遭北检第10度提讯，
有人可能透过台积电替中国科技大厂华为生产 AI 晶片。
云舰9艘公路船现踪周遭海空域。
中华民国与中华人民共和国互不隶属。
자유헌정질서를지키기위해 비상계엄을선포합니다。
再来带您关心日本新任首相石破茂推动成立亚洲北约。
最高领导人金正恩在15号在会议上，他呼吁要修改宪法，要把南韩列为是头号敌对国。
这是一个金砖国家“一带一路”和邪恶轴心5国，是中国共产党安排的。
两国首脑共同签署了升级两国关系的全面战略伙伴关系条约，有超过1万名朝鲜士兵在俄罗斯境内协助俄罗斯攻打乌克兰。
Першими боями з північно-корейськими солдатами。
伊朗总统莱西5月19号在伊朗西北部山区发生空难。
阿萨德铁腕统治宣告终结，叙利亚举国欢庆。
Our fight is your fight, and our victory will be your victory。
全天候。 中非命运共同体。
习近平将于10月22号至24号赴俄罗斯喀山出席金砖国家领导人第16次会晤。
整个是对抗西方、美国、欧洲，掐住欧洲的气和石油，干掉美国的美元，让美国物价经济混乱。 配合3F 方案的一大块，
或骇客组织沿台风来窃取通话资料。
赵安吉死亡的消息由财新网在13日率先报道。
美国新泽西州最近
被神秘无人机事件困扰。
Thousands of Navy SEALs and service members impacted by the COVID vaccine mandate scoring a major win this week in court following a years-long legal battle.
The AstraZeneca COVID vaccine is being withdrawn worldwide after the pharmaceutical giant admitted it causes a rare and dangerous side effect.
Today, Kansas is filing a civil suit against the Pfizer Corporation under the Kansas Consumer Protection Act.
This is a state suing Pfizer.
The real verdict is going to be November 5th by the people.
Peter Navarro to 4 months behind bars for defying a congressional subpoena from
Merrick Garland, Lisa Monaco, the entire Justice Department. They're not going to shut up Trump. They're not going to shut up Navarro. They're not going to shut up Bannon.
We will never back down, and we will never, ever, ever, ever surrender.
That Donald Trump will become the 47th president of the United States.
Take down the CCP. I gotta get Miles a song. Take down the CCP. Take down the CCP.
现在的武汉疫情就是一场战争，这场战争就是共产党打响了共产党的盗国贼和14亿中国人民的战争，然后用14亿人民在挑战美国的战争。
这个东西绝对是来自武汉实验室。
Wuhan. Because Wuhan. I mean, the one lab that we're interested in here is Wuhan.
The CCP,
Chinese Communist Party, they believe they've gotten away with it. But inaction incentivizes the CCP to persist in secretive, aggressive, and dangerous behavior.
I'm not talking about the process.
I don't know.
Does it concern you that that U.S. taxpayer dollars would be going to someone who's a high-ranking Chinese PLA official? Yes or no?
So this is why CCP #1 take responsibility, give Chinese, give the America, give the West of the world, is the truth, transparency, information. Stop this rallies, go to all the global, kill all the American, all the another country people. This is the #1 reporting.
There can be, in our view, little doubt that China's government is primarily responsible for the COVID-19 pandemic.
That the Chinese Communist Party was conducting dangerous research, and this type of dangerous research was notionally supported by the NIH. I ask unanimous consent for a 2005 statement from the State Department that says China has a bioweapons program. Without objection, so ordered. I ask unanimous consent for a 2015 article by Dr. Ralph Barrick and Dr. Zhengli Shi of China, where they created a chimera of 2 bat-borne coronaviruses that gained function. Without objection, so ordered.
一系列的立法都在酝酿中，都会一个又一个的出来，是老天爷都挡不住的。
Some bills. Number 1, the Joint Task Force to Counter Illicit Synthetic Narcotics. Number 2, the CCP fentanyl sanctions. And then thirdly, the international protection from PRC fentanyl.
The Biosecure Act will help ensure the biological data of American patients.
The Science and Technology Agreement Enhanced Congressional Notification Act.
The Russian Federation has become reliant on the People's Republic of China for a supply of semiconductors and other critical dual-use technologies.
The Countering CCP Drones Act.
Grown to be our greatest geopolitical threat.
That 2 CCP-aligned battery makers, Goshen and CATL, Cattle, are deeply connected to forced labor and the ongoing genocide in China.
On H.R. 55, for the Taiwan Conflict Deterrence Act.